Abby Zatello, and I would like to tell everyone a little bit about myself. I was born in Tampa, Florida, but moved to Jacksonville at a very young age, so I basically spent my whole life here in Jacksonville. I attended high school locally at Ponte Vedra High, and that is where I learned and developed my love for art. Now, once graduated from high school, I bounced around from a couple of other in state colleges, but after a couple of years, I found my way back home to Jacksonville to attend University of North Florida, and honestly, I really couldn't have been happier. Now, once I joined UNF, I was on track of getting my major as a graphic designer with a minor in photography. But as the first year went by, I had the realization of learning that photography program is where I fitted in and where I wanted to be. Now, therefore, I transitioned my whole entire major just to mainly focus on photography. The artists that have inspired me over the years are David LaChapelle, Nan Golding, and also music, album covers, posters, and videos. The reason for David LaChapelle and why he's such an inspiration of mine is because he's a photographer who has a specific wacky image in his head and he always perfectly executes it. From his use of props and his choice of color to his models, he has everything figured out. But one of the main reasons is because he's not afraid to be bold and controversial. Nan Golding has been a very long inspiration of mine, and the reason I love her and her work is because she's not afraid to get dirty and the nitty gritty. She documents a part in life that not a lot of people like to talk about or want to talk about. In the 80s, as an example, she traveled to drag queen shows and gay bars to document their lifestyle, which in the 80s, being queer was very taboo to even say that you were or just even openly discuss it. She even has a series of documenting her domestic abuse of her own personal relationship. And that is one of those photos is in this slide right now in the upper right hand corner. But the way she did this was she was capturing images of her injuries and how they would heal and they would come back and just how vicious the cycle was. And she just was not afraid to show the public images that made them start talking. Now, music, videos, covers, albums, all those, just music in general is very important to me. I've always loved music and the art of the album covers or videos. My favorite genre is rock. This genre is always has crazy artwork, and it's so creative and curious to look at that you have to just stare at it and figure out what it was representing and how it relates to the new album that is released. For themes, I like to focus on mental health, death, and my own personal experiences. Most recently, my biggest theme is mental illness. It's a very hot topic nowadays because of everyone going through quarantine and seeing what it does to one's mental health. But some I also relate to my own personal experiences. Art is very therapeutic to me, and I love to show what or how I felt at certain points in my life. For my process, I value creating the scenes, sets, and lighting in the studio, but with that being said, I like to sketch out some of my visions or make a list of some ideas that I would like to execute in my series that I'm working on. Some of my other processes by collecting props and finding my models. Now, my props are usually household items, or if I don't have it around the house, I'll go to Marshall's or Goodwill. Since I like creepy things, Halloween stores are one of my favorite go-tos, for sure. But if I can't find the prop I'm looking for, I will just create it myself and make it by hand. And moving on to my models, I liked calling on family and friends to help me out because it's just easier to figure out scheduling and all that stuff, and see what would work for them or just us for our session. For post production, I don't really do much unless it is color correcting or fixing some imperfections that are just bothering me that I didn't notice before I took the shot. But do I want to set my scene up before I even take the image, so I want to do as less editing as possible. My early works are some of my favorite works I've made over the years. You can see the inspiration of Nan Golding, of the dirty and some uncomfortable images. I've always enjoyed walking that line of making something that's beautiful and disturbing. But I also want people to wonder what events had to happen or take place for someone to, in these photos, to be in that position that they're in. With my most recent series, Mental Illness and Its Many Faces, I wanted to kind of dive deep into um, what mental illness really can be and represent it in a whole different fashion. I am going to throw out a trigger warning, so if you are uncomfortable with any of these topics, please feel free to look away. You won't hurt my feelings at all. Now, most of these images in this series are all untitled. With that being said, I wanted people to look at this image and see which illness is represented. And it's all up to them and how they want to think about it. I want them to create the story in their head so it can become more relatable to the viewer. But yeah, thank y'all. My email's at the bottom, and if you feel free to follow me on Instagram as well. But I am excited to finish up here at UNF next semester and see where my career takes me. I'm going to continue making art, and I'm excited to see my progress over the years. But thank y'all so much, and have a wonderful day.